levels of water brought services to the Minerva says we should be braced for more of this. Forget summer base sequence going to...
But the evidence in the record now is becoming clearer and clearer.
No longer assume the temperature of the world is stable.
Более 70 лет, но все еще загрязненность воздуха остается.
Average American, that carbon footprint is about 16 tons of carbon emissions.
What about COP26? What is COP?
The potential threats to the surrounding natural environment breaking frequency of the ocean. The UN is calling the world's first climate change fountain.
記録的な暑さだとか、あと危険な毎日、記録的な暑さだ
Scientists are correct in their fears.
The sure sign of climate change.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
No, and that's because the more we take, the less there is for future generations.
Our warming planet, there are reasons for hope.
We need to have the courage to try.
Lots more jobs created in the green economy.
Climate change is not the problem. Climate change is the expression of a problem.
The renewable energy technologies to fundamentally transform the energy system are at our disposal.
So how do we begin the process of reversing global warming?
Oh my God.
Innovation, and this kind of innovation.
Really glad people are starting to buy electric cars and
launched the largest tree plantation campaign.
It is now cheaper to build offshore wind farms.
To develop a climate-altering
by
crop.
continually reinvesting in our grassland. We are looking down
a critical moment that we cannot not be part of.
enormous opportunity in agriculture.
We can become stubborn optimists.
26 is one of the most important diplomatic gatherings in
But humanity already knows what to do.
Can't do it overnight, but we can set that end date.
We've got a long way to go.
But there is momentum.
Roll up your sleeves and do it.
시리에 가입한 경제협력 GDP 3만 달러.
Well done, Korea. Catching up all the way to here. Are you satisfied now?
아직 아니죠. 이제 대한민국은 퍼스트 코리아로 향하는 중이니까. 세상이 꿈꾸는 녹색 기술은 이미 우리 가까이 있습니다. 탄소 중립을 위한 혁신으로 새로운 대한민국을 이끌고 있죠. 이제 초격차 녹색 기술로 미래의 탄소 중립 녹색 성장의 길을 만들어갑니다. 지도에는 없는 길, 아직 아무도 가보지 않은 길, 누군가는 개척해야 하는 길, 대한민국이 새로운 길을 열어갑니다.
기후 위기에 대응하고 모든 인류와 공유하기 위해 노력하겠습니다.
클래스가 다른 내일의 대한민국, 그린으로 퍼스트 코리아. 퍼스트 코리아로 가는 길, 당신도 함께 해주세요.
But the evidence in the record now is becoming clearer and clearer.
Longer assume the temperature of the world is stable.
Более 70 лет, но все еще загрязненность воздуха остается.
American, that carbon footprint is about 16 tons of carbon emissions.
What about COP26? What is COP?
The potential threats to the surrounding natural environment breaking through the ocean.
The UN is calling the world's first climate change fountain.
記録的な暑さだとか、あと危険な毎日、記録的な暑さだとか、そういうことで
Scientists are correct in their fears.
The sure sign of climate change.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
No, and that's because the more we take, the less there is for future generations.
there are reasons for hope.
We need to have the courage to try.
Lots more jobs created in the green economy.
Climate change is not the problem. Climate change is the expression of the problem.
The renewable energy technologies to fundamentally transform the energy system are at our disposal.
So how do we begin the process of reversing global warming?
Innovation, and this kind of
Really glad people are starting to buy electric cars and
Launched the largest tree plantation campaign.
It is now cheaper to build offshore wind farms.
To develop a climate-altering
By
crop.
continually reinvesting in our grasslands, we are locking down
a critical moment that we cannot not be part of.
enormous opportunity in agriculture.
We can become stubborn optimists.
26 is one of the most important diplomatic gatherings in
But
history.
humanity already knows what to do.
Can't do it overnight, but we can set that end date.
We've got a long way to go.
But there is momentum.
Roll up your sleeves and do it.
연시비에 가입한 경제협력 GDP 3만 달러.
Well done, Korea. Catching up all the way to here. Are you satisfied now?
아직 아니죠. 이제 대한민국은 퍼스트 코리아로 향하는 중이니까. 세상이 꿈꾸는 녹색 기술은 이미 우리 가까이 있습니다. 탄소 중립을 위한 혁신으로 새로운 대한민국을 이끌고 있죠. 이제 초격차 녹색 기술로 미래의 탄소 중립 녹색 성장의 길을 만들어 갑니다. 지도에는 없는 길, 아직 아무도 가보지 않은 길, 누군가는 개척해야 하는 길. 대한민국이 새로운 길을 열어갑니다.
기후 위기에 대응하고 모든 인류와 공유하기 위해 노력하겠습니다.
클래스가 다른 내일의 대한민국, 그린으로 퍼스트 코리아. 퍼스트 코리아로 가는 길, 당신도 함께 해주세요.
But the evidence in the record now is becoming clearer and clearer.
Longer assume the temperature of the world is stable.
Более 70 лет, но все еще загрязненность воздуха остается.
Average American, that carbon footprint is about 16 tons of carbon emissions.
What about COP26? What is COP?
The potential threats to the surrounding natural environment breaking with the ocean.
The UN is calling the world's first climate change fountain.
記録的な暑さだとか、あと危険な毎日、記録的な暑さだ
Scientists are correct in their fears.
The sure sign of climate change.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
No, and that's because the more we take, the less there is for future generations.
God.
there are reasons for hope.
We need to have the courage to try.
Lots more jobs created in the green economy.
Climate change is not the problem. Climate change is the expression of the problem.
The renewable energy technologies to fundamentally transform the energy system are at our disposal.
So how do we begin the process of reversing global warming?
We need innovation, and this kind of
I'm really
innovation.
glad people are starting to buy electric cars and slowly
Launched the largest tree plantation campaign.
It is now cheaper to build offshore wind farms.
To develop a climate-altering
By
crop.
continually reinvesting in our grasslands, we are looking down
a critical moment that we cannot not be part of.
enormous opportunity in agriculture.
We can become stubborn optimists.
26 is one of the most important diplomatic gatherings in
But
history.
humanity already knows what to
We
do.
can't do it overnight, but we can set that end date.
We've got a long way to go.
But there is momentum.
Roll up your sleeves and do it.
이상의 경제 성장을 1인당 GDP 시리에 가입한 경제 협력 GDP 3만 달러.
Well done, Korea. Catching up all the way to here. Are you satisfied now?
아직 아니죠. 이제 대한민국은 퍼스트 코리아로 향하는 중이니까. 세상이 꿈꾸는 녹색 기술은 이미 우리 가까이 있습니다. 탄소 중립을 위한 혁신으로 새로운 대한민국을 이끌고 있죠. 이제 초격차 녹색 기술로 미래의 탄소 중립 녹색 성장의 길을 만들어 갑니다. 지도에는 없는 길, 아직 아무도 가보지 않은 길, 누군가는 개척해야 하는 길. 대한민국이 새로운 길을 열어갑니다.
기후 위기에 대응하고 모든 인류와 공유하기 위해 노력하겠습니다.
클래스가 다른 내일의 대한민국. 그린으로 퍼스트 코리아. 퍼스트 코리아로 가는 길, 당신도 함께 해주세요.
But the evidence in the The record now is becoming clearer and clearer.
No longer assume the temperature of the world is stable.
Более 70 лет, но все еще загрязненность воздуха остается.
Average American, that carbon footprint is about 16 tons of carbon emissions.
What about COP26? What is COP?
The potential threats to the surrounding natural environment breaking with their
See the ocean becoming less. What the UN is calling the world's first climate change famine.
記録的な暑さだとか、あと危険な毎日、危険な暑さだ
Scientists are correct in their fears.
The sure sign of climate change.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
No, and that's because the more we take, the less there is for future generations.
On our warming planet, there are reasons for hope.
We need to have the courage to try.
Lots more jobs created in the green economy.
Climate change is not the problem. Climate change is the expression of the problem.
The renewable energy technologies to fundamentally transform the energy system are at our disposal.
So how do we begin the process of reversing global warming?
And this kind of
I'm really glad people are starting to buy electric cars and
Launched the largest tree plantation campaign.
It is now cheaper to build offshore wind farms.
To develop a climate-altering
by
crop.
continually reinvesting in our grasslands. We are looking down on
a critical moment that we cannot not be part of.
Enormous opportunity in agriculture.
We can become stubborn optimists.
26 is one of the most important diplomatic gatherings in
But
history.
humanity already knows what to do.
Can't do it overnight, but we can set that end date.
We've got a long way to go.
But there is momentum.
Roll up your sleeves and do it.
앉아주시고 함께 하실 준비를 해주시길 부탁드리겠습니다. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please? We'll soon commence the opening ceremony of the Korea Global Adaptation Week 2023. Please be seated. 네, 여러분 잠시 후 진행되는 개회식은 한영 동시 통역이 제공이 됩니다. 혹시 통역 서비스가 필요하신 분께서는 좌석에 준비된 통역 수신기를 영어는 1번, 한국어는 2번으로 원하시는 언어에 맞춰서 설정해 주시길 부탁드리겠습니다. Ladies and gentlemen, for your information, we do have a simultaneous interpretation service. If you need any service, please use the receivers on your tables. Channel 1 for English, Channel 2 for Korean. Thank you very much for your kind cooperation. We'll soon commence the opening ceremony. Now, we will begin the opening ceremony of the Korea Global Adaptation Week 2023. Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and my name is Jessica Seung-Yi Lee, your MC for this very special occasion. It is my great honor and privilege to be guiding you through today's proceedings. Adaptation Week is the largest global event in the field of climate change adaptation. It was hosted by Incheon Songdo in 2019 and is being held here again this year. Korea Global Adaptation Week 2023 provides opportunities to engage in various discussions on how international society should adapt to climate change, as well as diverse forums and meetings on climate change adaptation, under the theme of A New Era for Adaptation, Scaling Up and Transformation for Adaptation. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see here at the site, we're joined by many distinguished guests who are gracing us with their presence today. So now I would like to take a few minutes to introduce them. Once I mention their names, please welcome them with a big round of applause. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Im Sang-jun, Vice Minister of the Ministry of Environment of the Republic of Korea. Let's welcome him. Thank you very much. Thank you. And next, we're joined by Mr. Yoo Jong-bok, Mayor of Incheon Metropolitan City. Thank you. Next, Mr. Lee Chang-hoon, President of Korea Environment Institute. Let's welcome him. Next, please join me in welcoming Mr. Harry Bruce, Chair of Substaff of UNFCCC. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Thank you very much for your attendance. Last but not least, Mr. Yusuf Nassif, Director of Adaptation of UNFCCC. Let's welcome him with a big round of applause. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, please understand that we could not introduce each and everyone who are joining us today. But once again, thank you very much for your attendance and your support. Now, let us commence our Korea Global Adaptation Week 2023's opening ceremony with the opening remark. The opening remarks for this event will be delivered by Vice Minister of Environment, Mr. Im Sang-jun, representing the Ministry of Environment, which is proudly hosting the Korea Adaptation Week 2023. Let's welcome him.
Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to welcome you officially to the opening of Korea Global Adaptation Week. 환영합니다. First, I must thank Mr. Harry Bruce, Chair of UNFCCC, Substar, for his wonderful leadership as we make this event success. And thank you, Mr. Yusuf Nassif, for your valuable work as the Director of Adaptation Program. And Mayor Yoo Jong-bok, we are all grateful for your kind support to have us enjoy this beautiful venue. And Mr. Lee Chang-hoon, President of Korea Environment Institute, for your tireless effort on developing adaptation measures. Leaders, experts, and youth from 74 countries, thank you for joining us today. It is my great honor to stand in this room with the people so dedicated to tackling humanity's greatest challenge. Excellencies, Mother Nature sounded the alarm long ago, asking mankind to wake up and to do the things differently. We all have witnessed our planet suffering unprecedented flood, drought, heat waves, wildfires, and so on, and Korea is not an exception. Climate disasters are now everywhere, common and intense. In some situations, they are approaching worst-case scenarios. Secretary General of the United Nations once mentioned, no region is immune. I believe this is an urgent call for global attention. I'd like to make a point to humbly remind you, the same in many natural or social disasters, the most vulnerable of our community have been worst affected by the climate disasters as well. So we have duty to speed up the efforts, not just word, but into action. I believe this week's program will provide us a strong platform to make a meaningful step that could also be a valuable input for COP28 in 3 months later. Ladies and gentlemen, there are those who are going forward further and faster than others. Korea would eagerly like to be one of them. Korean government mandated adaptation planning of local government and public institute early on by national law. And we have passionate citizen groups who evaluate policies and contribute to raising public awareness and enhancing transparency and accountability throughout the decision-making process. We also developed the Climate Vulnerability Assessment tool, which will be demonstrated to you later in other session on Wednesday. Despite of those actions, we know individual countries' effort alone is not enough. It needs global cooperation, which means no countries are just passengers or free riders of this long, challenging journey. Excellencies, this year's theme, New Era for Adaptation, reminds me of Mahatma Gandhi's famous saying. Let me finish with his word. The future depends on what we do in the present. Now we have that opportunity over this week, so I hope our discussion sends a strong message to global community and make a significant step forward in climate adaptation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Im Sang-jun, for inaugurating Korea Global Adaptation Week 2023. Let's give another big round of applause. Thank you very much. And now we will invite Mr. Yoo Jung-bok, Mayor of Incheon Metropolitan City, for his welcoming remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him with a big round of applause.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to meet you, all of you today in Incheon, the City of Creative Innovation and Environment. I am Yoo Jung-bok, Mayor of Incheon Metropolitan City. I'd like to extend my sincerest appreciation to Vice Minister Im Sang-jun, Substitute Harry Bruce, Director Yusef Nasep, and Dr. Lee Chang-un for attending this event. I warmly welcome all the participants from governments, academia, and international organizations. Global responses to the climate crisis are top priority for the international community. Despite the efforts for carbon neutrality, the average of global temperature has increased by 1.09 degrees Celsius. And the climate crisis clock, which indicates remaining time to reach 1.5 degrees Celsius, is showing 5 years and 328 days as of today. According to the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the average temperature of the sea level was 21.1 degrees Celsius, recording the highest level since first data was collected. Around the world, there have been unprecedented droughts, heat and cold waves, heavy rainfalls, and typhoons. People who have lost their lives and food supplies are in danger. As such, the climate crisis has caused a broad and direct impact on the existence of humankind. Therefore, we can't delay any longer. For the future of humanity, all nations and cities must strictly implement carbon neutrality. And we should find ways to increase climate adaptation and cooperation. This includes establishment of a national adaptation plan and development of technologies, resources, and implementation means to address the climate crisis. This year's Adaptation Week is significant as it is being held jointly by major climate adaptation leaders, the UNFCCC and UNEP. The theme of this event is a new era for adaptation, scaling up and transformation in adaptation. I believe that this event will serve as a platform to explore ways to enhance cooperation and resilience. In doing so, it will provide an opportunity to build a sustainable world. In 2018, IPCC has adopted IPCC Special Report on Global Warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius in here, Songdo of Incheon Pre-Economic Zone. Incheon made an announcement of 2045 carbon neutrality vision last year and is implementing an action roadmap. To realize our vision, we will implement various policies. We will conduct vulnerability assessment, publish responses manual, and increase infrastructures to prevent natural disasters. In addition, Incheon will make efforts to fulfill its role as a member of the international community. I'd like to once again extend my heartfelt appreciation to UNFCCC, UNEP, Ministry of Environment, and the Korea Environmental Institute for organizing this event. It's my sincere wish that this would be an invaluable and successful occasion for international society to discuss issues related to climate change adaptation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Yu, for your support and for your contribution. Thank you very much once again. And next, Mr. Yusuf Nassif, Director of Adaptation at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCCC, will deliver his welcoming remarks on behalf of the UNFCCC. Let's welcome him with a big round of applause.
I am honored to join you today at the opening of the Korea Global Adaptation Week. And special words of gratitude to our hosts, Mr. Lim Sang-loon, Vice Minister for Environment, Mr. Yoo Jong-bok, Mayor of Incheon Metropolitan City, Mr. Lee Chang-hoon, President of KEI, and special word of welcome to Mr. Harry Verhulst, the Chairman of the subsidiary body for scientific and technological advice of the UNFCCC. I'm also very pleased that we are able to convene here in Songdo, which brings a lot of good memories from previous events such as this one. And the mayor reflected on the ambitious action undertaken by Korea, but also in Songdo in particular. And we're very, very grateful to be hosted in this city. In fact, the Korea Global Adaptation Week in 2019 set the now established trend of bringing together the NAP Expo and other key adaptation events under one umbrella. We have had these now also in Botswana in 2022 and in Chile earlier this March. And there are few places more apt in which to talk about transformational decisions and change than a smart city that rose out of the sea in a decade, in a country once called the Miracle on the Han River, and in a region that has in a single generation yielded well-studied triumphs and lessons, both on battling poverty and in advancing green growth. Yet while the Asia-Pacific region may be among the most vulnerable, it has also shown itself time and again to be uniquely resourceful, including some of the countries considered to be the most innovative. And its diversity is a representation of the many disparate circumstances faced by the world as it prepares to adapt and to transform. It is a strength on which partnerships can be built, on common challenges and circumstances, and where relevant lessons can be bartered across the empathy born of shared vulnerabilities. Events in this week connect the dots across time and space. It pivots around the regional NAP Expo, which seeks to engage and synergize across the many stakeholders involved in the National Adaptation Plans, the NAPs, from their formulation all the way to full implementation. And it showcases and honors the contributions of indigenous peoples through a gallery and dialogue on their values and art. It includes also a UN for NAPs regional forum, focusing on hazards and the needs of the region, as well as an innovative event by the Adaptation Committee on transboundary action and gaps. And finally, it features a Resilience Frontiers event, an initiative that was born here in Songdo in 2019, an event that focuses on developing and rallying around common narratives of a future that is truly sustainable for people, nature, and planet, and on the paradigm shift that is necessary for getting there. The upcoming session of the Conference of the Parties, COP28, promises to serve as a launchpad for scaled-up and transformational ambition for both adaptation and resilience, as well as for mitigation of greenhouse gas emissions. And as the Vice Minister said, our activities this week are an effective step towards that end. Our events will support the only multilateral process geared towards shepherding and steering climate change action towards a prosperous, resilient world that is consistent with the collective vision described by the Sustainable Development Goals. A world, for example, where the way we produce food actually leaves the soil and natural environment even better and more abundant than before, or in which not a single person wants for clean, safe drinking water, nor loses their lives or livelihoods because of ill health caused by climate change. It is up to all of us to make the most of this moment, to scale up adaptation action and support in our pursuit of a just and resilient transition. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Yusuf Nassef, for gracing us with that wonderful remarks. Thank you once again. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we will have another welcoming remarks. This time, please join me in welcoming Mr. Lee Chang-hoon, President of the Korea Environment Institute, who will be giving us his welcoming remarks. Please join me in welcoming him with a big round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chang Lee from Korea Environment Institute. It is my great honor to host all of you to this meaningful event and to extend a warm welcome to all of you to the Global Adaptation Week Korea 2023. As you know, the IPCC report published in 2021 states that if current greenhouse gas emissions continue at their present levels, we are likely to overshoot 1.5 degrees Celsius global temperature between in 20 years. Experiencing the overshoot in the near future means that the climate crisis right at our doorstep. At the Korea Environment Institute, we have been conducting various research projects on greenhouse gas reduction and climate adaptation. KEI is also hosting the Korea Adaptation Center for Climate Change, established by the Ministry of Environment in 2009, and has actively been engaged in the development and implementation of adaptation policies and actions. Today's event, the Korea Global Adaptation Week 2023, is a clear reflection of our commitment to climate change adaptation. However, we every day witness the escalating impacts of climate change. We recognize the urgency for even greater collaborative actions which brings us together here today. The Korea Global Adaptation Week 2003, with the theme of New Era for Adaptation, Scaling Up and Transformation in Adaptation, will take place from today until September the 1st. There are 29 different programs and over 1,000 people from 82 countries are here to discuss the solution and the way to open a new era for adaptation. The highlighted events include the Regional Lab Expo for Asia and the Pacific, organized by the UNFCCC Least Developed Countries Expert Group, the Regional UN4NAPS Forum for Asia and the Pacific, and the Resilience Frontiers Working Session, both interagency initiatives coordinated by the UNFCCC Secretariat, and the 8th Asia-Pacific Climate Change Adaptation Forum, organized by UNEP. The Global Adaptation Dialogue, hosted by the Ministry of Environment, Korea, and many others will take place. The importance of this event lies in the coming together of two vital entities, the UNFCCC, which set global norms for climate change response, and UNEP, which coordinate and concentrate on practical adaptation efforts on the ground. We are hopeful that this collaboration will yield a synergistic effect. As we gather here for 5 days of discussions, I hope that you will uncover solutions that not only scale up adaptation efforts, but also transform conventional approaches, guiding us into a new era of adaptation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Lee, for enlightening us about the true value and significance of Adaptation Week. Thank you once again. Next, let me now invite Mr. Harry Bruce, Chair of the Subsidiary Body for Scientific and Technological Advice, or SUBSTA, of the UNFCCC for his keynote speech. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's welcome him with a big round of applause.
Good morning, everybody. Mr. Chang Yong-lin, Vice Minister of Environment of the Republic of Korea. Mr. Young Bok-jo, Mayor of the Incheon Metropolitan City. Mr. Yusuf Nassef, Director of the Adaptation Division of the UNFCCC Secretariat. Mr. Sang-hoon Lee, President of the Korea Environmental Institute. Esteemed delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to join the previous speakers in welcoming you to the Korean Global Adaptation Week. First and foremost, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to the government of Korea for hosting us in the beautiful city of Incheon. Your presence here symbolizes the collective will of the international community to address the urgent issues of climate change. We have much to discuss, but I will now focus my remarks on the progress we have made through the multilateral efforts and the path that lies ahead of us. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the progress we have made until COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, where the last pieces of the Paris rulebook were finalized. This momentous accomplishment lays down the operational guidelines for the Paris Agreement and will be implemented globally. The time is now ripe to transform this rulebook from paper into practice. Secondly, we must consider the three primary pillars guiding us in our transformation. The first pillar, familiar to all of us, I'm sure, is the mitigation goal of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The second pillar concerns the crucial issue of climate finance, guided by the COP15 target of 100 million per year US dollars and COP26 goal to double adaptation finance. The third pillar, the global goal on adaptation, advanced significantly with a framework set forth at COP27 and is expected to be legally outcome of COP28 later this year in Dubai. This framework will define a landing zone for a future resilient world. These three pillars constitute the cornerstone of our collective efforts to transition into climate resilient future. Yet, while we celebrate these milestones, there are sobering signs that demand our immediate attention. Some of the previous speakers already referred to it. I want to recall emissions in 2025 are expected to be 53.7% higher than they were in 1990, 12.6 higher than in 2010, and 1.6 higher than in 2019. Projections for 2030 are similarly troubling. Although new national determined contributions, NDCs, display a heightened level of ambition, they still fall short. The fact that emissions may peak before 2030 is promising, but is no low sign of the scale and scope of the problem. The IPCC has presented us a clear signal from the science which has informed us an urgent need for socio-economic transformation in the course of the current decade in order to meet the challenges of climate change. To ensure that a multilateral system can meet this transformation challenge, we need an approach rooted in 4 pillars. The first one is a set of the mindset. This has been adopted an important component of our thinking on the global goal on adaptation, as well as our work on the local communities and indigenous people platform. Our collective approach to this change must be agile, adaptive, and inclusive. It is essential to shift from short-term thinking to long-term sustainable strategies. This paradigm shift is a prerequisite for any meaningful change. The GGA workshop underscores the importance of the mindset shift, integrating indigenous wisdom and cross-sectoral perspective to promote transformational adaptation strategies. A key insight that informed our first pillar of transformation. The second one is finance. We must reform our financial system to support sustainable development and climate resilience. This has been reinforced by the outcomes of COP27, as well as global initiatives to address the needed transformation. Traditional models of finance are no longer sufficient. We need innovative fundings, an innovative financing mechanism that prioritizes long-term sustainability over short-term gains. The UN Secretary-General underlined that without serious reforms, there will be no serious solutions for today's crisis. The Summit for a New Global Financing Pact marked a watershed moment in this regard, mobilizing $100 billion for green transition in developing countries, securing commitments from multilateral banks for an additional $200 million in loans, and forging philanthropic coalitions to invest in climate action, all underpinning by a roadmap for sustainable action, highlighting the transformational potential of finance, or second pillar of transformation. I now turn to the third pillar, energy. The transition to renewable energy sources is non-negotiable. Governments will work collaboratively together with the private sector to accelerate the adoption of clean energy technologies. The high-level energy transformation dialogues, initiated by the COP28 United Arab Emirates Presidency and the International Energy Agency, aim to forge a consensus on the 1.5 aligned energy transition and will serve as a crucial platform for driving concrete commitment at upcoming COP28, signifying as essential advance in our third pillar. Fourth, regeneration. Our ambition must present sustainability to focus on regenerative economic activity, centered on regenerative food production and ecosystem stewardship. A commitment to not just preserve, but actively revitalize our ecosystem. Such nature positive practices are already embedded in the work under the UNFCCC, from the global goal on adaptation to plans and processes like the National Adaptation Plan, NAPS, and specific initiatives such as the Climate Resilient Food Alliances. Ladies and gentlemen, the era of unilateral is behind. We live in a world that is connected, and the challenges we face are beyond the capabilities of any single country. The benefits and achievements of mutualism are clear. The echo to the landmarks agreements we have reached, the technologies we have jointly developed, and the vulnerable communities that we have protected. So, as we navigate the course of this Global Adaptation Week, let us bear in mind the weight of the collective responsibilities we hold. Let us celebrate the progress we have made, but also understand the long road ahead of us. Let's continue to forge alliances, pool resources, and share knowledges. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to a fruitful week of discussion and collaborative action. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Bruce, for your support. Thank you very much for sharing your insights. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, starting from today, discussions on adaptation will continue for 5 days here in Incheon, Songdo, Ladies and gentlemen, we ask for your ongoing participation and support and of course your interest in these events. And this brings us to the end of the opening ceremony of the Korea Global Adaptation Week 2023. Thank you very much for your attendance.